Good morning. I am talking to myself right now, waiting for Deirdre to join. There she is.
Tired, so I could probably use some coffee. I think I've been, well, you too. We've both been writing a ton this last week. And I think because I'm just sitting here doing that, I think when I go to bed, I'm restless and my mind is going, and I just haven't been sleeping well at all. And I feel so tired. I'm just like, I wish I drank coffee, but I don't.
You should start.
I used to drink coffee, but it gives me migraines, so I stopped.
Yeah. That's so weird because coffee prevents my migraines.
Oh,
But
really?
that's probably a medical condition I've given myself because I drink so much that if I stop drinking it, I'll get a headache. But anyway. I see we have people joining us and I'm super excited. Thank you, everyone. Hi, Susan. Susan is also a member of Team Bookends, so yay.
Thanks for joining us, writers. Uncut, our weekly live chat about all things writing related. So from, writing your first sentence to publishing and promoting, whether you go to traditional route or so. Shall we get to it?
Yes, we shall.
Am I having an echo?
You're not having an echo, but your voice is kind of cutting out every now and then.
Should I just try again? Because I can hear myself. It's really annoying.
Oh, okay, yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
You can sing a song.
Okay. Hi, Trisha. Okay, how are you doing now?
Let's try it. Okay. Yes. I
Yay.
was hearing myself after I said all the words.
Oh, I hate that.
Again.
I hate that.
It's so annoying.
Maybe you can turn down the volume or something?
Oh, you know what? I think maybe that's better. Nope. I don't know. Oh, well, I'll just deal with it. But anyway, thanks for joining us, everybody.
Yes, so we have two awesome questions to answer for you. The first one is from Matt Voyager. I don't know if that's his last name or if that's a Instagram name. It's a cool last name if it's a last name.
Yeah, totally.
So the question is, do you write a synopsis prior to writing the novel, and do you plan? Do you want to answer that?
This is a great question. I'm so glad that you asked, Matt, so thank you. So do I write a synopsis? I write an outline, so depending on everyone's definitions, an outline is a chapter, for me, chapter by chapter, the plot points, the kind of the things that are going to happen that I know I want to hit during those, hit those beats as far as pacing. So I make sure that a scene or a piece of dialogue or whatever happens in that chapter. And it kind of gives me shape to the story. It definitely is like a guideline, a path to follow. I go off of it for sure. And each book that I write, the outline is a little bit different. I've only tried to pan once, and that was enough for me. Everyone's process is different. So I make sure that I create an outline, a plan, but I give myself some room to go off the map a little bit too. So it's just more of a guideline. But my longest outline has been 32,000 words. So that's like almost half of a book.
Did you include some actual writing in that, like dialogue or something?
I did. What happens when I'm doing my outline, I'll be like, oh, that's a good idea. And I follow where it goes. And then, 10 minutes later, I'm like, okay, chill out. Like, this is just the outline. So definitely planning is involved for me. You may have heard there's planners or plotters and pantsters. And I definitely fall into the plotting category. I like to have a vision, an overview of what my book or the story is going to look like before I dig in. It really helps me keep on track. And it also helps me meet word count goals, which is something that helps me write as much as I do. So that is the best answer that I can give. Yes.
So you write an outline, but do you write a synopsis at any
So,
point?
not really. No. I mean, I guess, I do. I write a short paragraph, almost like 4 or 5 sentence, like, this is what this story is about, but definitely not a synopsis like I would give a publisher if
Right.
they're reading it. Yeah. But I know, what's your answer?
So my answer, do I write a synopsis prior to writing the novel? Hell no. I try to never write a synopsis because they are the worst things in the world. I wait until my agent asks for one, and then I wait even longer hoping that maybe like she'll write it for me. She never does. So I absolutely do not write a synopsis because they're the worst and I hate them. But I do plan and I write an outline, which is it's something that is for myself, and I definitely don't share it with anyone except for like you, because it's disjointed and it kind of only makes sense to me. But my outlines are not as intense as yours. But all of my outlines are about 5,000 to 10,000 words long, and I like to write several paragraphs per chapter, per scene of like what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I have done that sometimes where as I'm outlining, I'll think of a great line of dialogue, so I'll include it. And then the next line comes to me, and then I've written a couple paragraphs. I'm like, okay, wait. It's like, no, this is not a manuscript. This is an outline. But so do I plan? I 100% plan. I honestly don't think I've ever pantsed anything I've ever written. Like, I've pantsed some scenes maybe, or sometimes I'll go off script and I will think of something as I'm writing that's different from the outline. But even then, I'm kind of planning it in my head before I write it. So, and maybe that's what pantsers do. I don't know. I make a very detailed, very thorough outline and I stick to that. But with the synopsis, no, I try to never, ever, ever write one. And it's funny because I actually, at my Houston chapter, the West Houston chapter RWA meeting I was at this past weekend, the speaker was talking about synopsises, and she had a point that sometimes it's actually a good idea to write a synopsis before you even begin writing the book. And I was like, no, why? But she had some really good points because you can kind of condense your entire novel idea into 1 or 2 pages. And as you work on your outline, you can refer back to it and see how far you've strayed, or you kind of know where to come back to. So, it's a good point, but I still say no all day long. I will say no. I will not write a synopsis. They're evil and they're terrible. So, and when I was querying for agents, if they wanted a synopsis, I didn't query them. So, I was like, too much work. I wrote a 2,000-word novel, but I'm not writing a 2-page synopsis. It does not.
A couple things. So I would say, like, I'm in the definitely, like, I hate synopsis camp with you guys. For part of it, I think it's just we're used to, like, the long, what you're saying, like, you can write 70, 80, whatever, 1,000 words, but then condensing that into a 1 or 2 pages is impossible. But then when you do get into the publishing process, then you have to condense the story into a paragraph and then into 1 sentence with your log line. So it is a good exercise, is what it is. And for those of us, I think I've mentioned this to you, Shan, for those of us who hate them, there's a Star Wars synopsis guide that you can look at. And for whatever reason, it made it so much easier for me. So you can Google Star Wars synopsis guide, and it's for writers. It's for writing a book synopsis. It's not like a synopsis of Star Wars. It's designed to help write your own synopsis. And it was so incredibly, it really took the pressure off too, because I was kind of laughing. Does Susan Bird have a synopsis outline? Is that what you're saying, Cassie? I'm not sure.
If you go to her website, susandinner.com/4writers, she has a how to write synopsis page. I have, every single time I've had to write one for a publisher, I use her website, and that's how I write it. Like, I follow her steps because she's amazing.
Okay.
So this Star Wars thing, do you have to know Star Wars for it to make sense? Because I've never seen any of those.
Drink coffee. I don't. I love Star Wars. You don't. I don't know. I don't know what this relationship is going to be.
I don't know if we can be friends anymore. Okay, the site, Susan, it's susandinner.com/4writers. I believe that's it. Or 4-writers.
Yeah.
Or just go to susandinner.com. And she's got a dash. Yeah, it's like 4-writers. You'll find it on her homepage, and she has a ton of information. I've read every single article like 100 times. So Very helpful.
She's brilliant. I've done the same, actually. To me. She has so many great resources. So if you are struggling with any of these finer, just for lack of a better word, technical aspects of, hi Jen, these more, difficult aspects, she has some great tools for you. So I really recommend that. Okay, so does that kind of answer the question? Plan. If you're a planner, plan. If you're a pantster and you just want to go with the flow and see what happens, give that a try. But there's really there's no right or wrong.
That's fine if you're a pantser, but you're wrong. I will tell you that. Like, something's wrong with you.
I just said right or wrong.
unless you're a pantser, then you're wrong. But no, and I always say you have to do what works for you, because some things work for me that do not work for other people, and some things that work for other people don't work for me. But if you want to write fast, I highly recommend having a detailed outline, because there's never any writer's block. Like, there's never any, what do I write? You sit down and you know exactly what you're going to write. So I highly recommend having an outline. But you probably have to try it both ways to just figure out what works best for you. And the best way is, of course, outlining. But it's whatever works.
and an outline can be a couple pages, or it can be like a 30,000 word document. It kind of depends on your story. Fantasy outlining is really cool because there's so many parts of the world that you have to incorporate. So, anyway, okay, just getting some really good comments. Thank you guys for joining us. We're going to move on to our next question. You ready?
Okay. Our next question is from Jennifer Akers. I got to meet her recently, which was super fun. She said, what made each of us decide to switch from going from self-published to traditionally published? Which is a fun question. I feel like I could meet Jennifer up for coffee and we could talk for hours about this, but we'll try to condense it down. So do you want to answer first?
You can if you want.
Okay. So my decision it was almost not a decision. My decision came from giving up. I had originally wanted to traditionally publish. Hi, Creepy Mama 85. I love your username. So I originally wanted to traditionally publish. That's the only way I thought you could publish, way back in the day before self-publishing was really a thing. And I had written books and queried and tried over the years, and had been rejected a million times, and 300 times to be exact. And I just kind of gave up, actually, and that's what made me decide to self-publish. Was I had given up on traditional publishing, if I'm being quite honest. And of course, like, in my heart, I did always want to traditionally publish. I just never thought it would happen for me. And what's really funny is that it kind of fell into my lap. Like, I had 100% given up, and I was self-publishing a few books, and I was having a good time, and it was fun. And the indie community is really fun and helpful and supportive and sweet. And sometimes I think the indie publishing community is a whole lot nicer than the traditional community. But I get the best of both worlds as a hybrid author, so that's good. But yeah, I had published my teen superhero series, and I got an email one day from Owly Entertainment, and they were interested in republishing it traditionally. So it kind of blew me away, and I was super excited. And I remember when I talked to the editor, I said, I had their submission website saved on my computer. And I said, I've looked at your website 100 times, and I wanted to submit, but I never did, because I figured I'd be rejected. And she said, well, you're never going to know unless you try. So it was very inspiring, and I was super excited. And that was my first foray into traditional publishing. And it kind of fell into my lap. She literally just emailed me out of the blue. Cassie asked, how do they find it? They found it on Amazon. They were looking up like best-selling young adult indie books, I guess, because they actually bought and republished a whole bunch of self-published books, that imprint by Alloy. So I just got lucky, really. And but that gave me kind of the push I needed to pursue traditional publishing again, because I had given up and felt like a failure, and then this made me feel like maybe I had a shot. So I quit self-publishing, I started writing more, I found an agent, and the rest is history. So now I'm traditionally published, and I like to think that I will try to stay that way, but you never know. In the future, I might self-publish something else. You really never know. It just depends on what happens. So that's my journey, and you can share yours. We have very similar journeys, I think.
It's very similar. I've been nodding the whole time because I'm like, yep. Pretty much the same story. Started querying back before you did that online. And then moved online and racked up tons of rejection letters. And I think I mentioned this on another live. It was definitely not the right time. Like, there was a reason I was being rejected for sure. And I've learned so much since then. But I kind of was like, well, what's this self-publishing thing? This seems kind of cool. And I'm really involved in the community, indie publishing community, and on Twitter and Facebook, and I'm a little bit less so now just because of time. I published a couple books, and then I had a similar story. My novel Sugar came across the desk of one of the editors at Skyscape, which is an Amazon imprint, and I'd entered it into a contest. I'd done like different critique groups, and I'm not really sure. Like, that manuscript had been like out and about. I didn't submit to them directly, so I signed with them unagented, and then published another book with them called Pearl. And then I was kind of back where it started. Like, weren't forward with any future books, and I went back to self-publishing because you have a lot of creative control. You have a lot of influence over, where your book is and what it's doing and so on. And then kind of, I guess I'll add to this, traditional publishing and indie publishing to a degree, but there's a lot of luck involved, and you touched on that again. There is some kind of magic, some kind of confluence of energies, or like magic pixie dust. Like, I don't know. I haven't figured out the formula. But I got an agent, and, well, we know how that happened. But now I'm now in the, I'm afraid to say it.
Say it. Say the S word.
We're in the submissions process. So another book that I have is out with editors at publishing houses, and we will see what happens. So there were a few requests, and I'm just trying to keep the energy really even here and be chill about it. But I'm like,
This is the worst part of publishing. It's not trying to get an agent. It's what happens after you have an agent. That's the worst part, because now you're waiting.
We're waiting. So it's kind of finished that. I'm definitely a hybrid author. I might self-publish again. I might do a pen name. I might just stick with traditional. It kind of depends on the stories I have in me and kind of where they would best fit, and just kind of in that regard, going with the flow. I guess I'm a pantser in that, right? Like, I just sort of am gonna see what happens, while being proactive, still writing and still being involved in all of that stuff. So I haven't switched entirely to traditional. I would call myself a hybrid author, so best of both worlds.
It really is. I mean, the indie community is so great, and there's so many pros and cons to both traditional publishing and indie publishing. I personally earn a lot more money indie publishing than traditional publishing, and I think a lot of people think the opposite is true, that you have to get that book deal with the big house to make any money, and that's really not true. But for most people, it's really not true. But and I can, like, people are always asking me, should they do one or the other? And I say, I really don't know. Like, my own journey was through feeling like I had been a failure, and my editor had told me, like, you can't do that. If you want something, you have to keep trying for it. So, it's really just up to you. You really need to just weigh the options yourself, what you want to do. My dog just came in here and is rolling on her back on the floor next to me, so I'm trying not to laugh. Yeah, I gave her a treat before we started so it would keep her busy, but I guess it didn't last very long.
So Jen's comment is kind of interesting. Oh, wow. Didn't know that. I would have thought the paycheck would be reversed.
Nope, it really does. I mean, if you're like a super famous author, then yeah, you're going to make a ton of money. But even super famous authors don't make that much money. So, and the advance gets paid out over several years. But without going into numbers, I quit my engineering job and survived on my indie publishing paycheck. And with my traditional publishing money, I could have like maybe bought some furniture for the house. I spent most of it on promotion, but it's like it doesn't pay the bills. It doesn't pay the bills at all. So, but that's just my experience. You know, I know authors that are making $1 million a year indie publishing, like literally. And I know authors, well, I don't personally know them, but we know of authors that make a ton of money traditionally publishing. So it really just depends on your journey and your genre too, what type of books you're writing. That all matters, but it's so hard to tell someone what they should do when it comes to publishing because it's so, and a lot of it is just luck too.
Yeah. Susan Dennard has a great post. It was in her newsletter recently. I'm guessing she put it on her blog. It was a breakdown of numbers and publishing and how advances get paid out in the traditional world, and it was really insightful. So again, that's Susan Dennard's website. She's kind of like a gold mine for all kinds of good stuff. She's traditionally published, I think, exclusively, but she does have some to say about that. But I feel like a lot of it's often behind closed doors. Like indies are very transparent and will share numbers and you don't see that so much on the traditional side, but she does talk a lot about it. And I will say, I mean, we could talk a lot about this a lot, but I would say I actually do make more from my traditionally published books than my independently published books. But there are
there's so many factors to it. Yeah. But
we'll
so that's why
about that sometime because
we should.
We're both learning a little bit, or we both knew certain aspects of self-publishing that we weren't necessarily applying, and we've sort of had some wake-ups recently to some of that. So maybe it's a topic for another day because I think it would be a long one to talk about right now. But,
for sure.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up, if anyone has any questions related to anything, post it in the little comment box and we'll try to get to it. Yeah. Also, go on.
Oh, I was just going to say, if you don't, always feel free to DM us and ask questions, and we'll get to that in a future episode.
Okay, Susan asked, do we both write full-time or work other jobs, and how do you balance it all? I quit my job 3 years ago. I quit my job in engineering because my Indeed salary was making enough money to pay the bills, and I've been full-time ever since. It's actually been 3.5 years now, but I do work part-time as a substitute teacher. I do that both for several reasons. One is to get out of the house because being at home, I worked 16 years straight full time, and then I sat here for 3 years, and it's like it's really not fun being at home all day. But I also don't want to go back to a full-time cubicle job until fate forces me to because of money. So I substitute teach to get out of the house and to stay in touch with teenagers because hanging out at a high school all day will give you so many great book ideas if you write for young adults. And I also do it for some extra money. So if book publishing money is tight a month or two, then I'll sub some extra jobs so I can bring in more money. So I'm technically full-time, but with like side gigs. And I also have my Etsy shop that brings in some extra money too. So that's me right now, but that could change at any time because publishing is so crazy. Like you never know. Like I could be broke next month and needing to get a job. So
yeah. I guess you could call them. And I'm a yoga teacher and do this as an essential life. I have another account that I do, and kind of dabble in a few different things to kind of pad the income a little bit. But I would say I'm a full-time writer. Most days, even on the weekends, both Shay and I, we have like kind of a workaholic-ism type. But we love it. Yes, multiple streams is the way to go. Such a good way to put it, Jen. But yeah, so the other part of the question though was how do you balance it all? And I don't think we do. That's the truth.
I don't. I know for a fact that I don't balance it. And sometimes I wonder how long I can continue doing this with my life because, like Deirdre said, I am on all day long. Like I will get out of bed at 3 a.m. if I wake up and think of something, either marketing relating or book related or something that I think might help me, and I will come upstairs to my office and I'll work. So There really is no balance, and I take very few vacations, but when we do go on vacation, I bring my laptop and I'm still writing and working and doing stuff. So it's, I don't have a good answer for that because I don't think I balance it well at all. But like she said, it's fun. I enjoy being in the writing world and the writing community. And when we started this Writers Uncut live chat, we literally said, we're so busy, how are we going to find time to do this? But we want to do it anyway, so let's just do it. So, you know.
And that kind of leads on to add priority. Like, if you really want something, you'll find the time, you'll make the time. Maybe getting up at 3 a.m. is not a great idea for your health. but I do keep a note next to my bed, and I do the same thing. Like, if something comes to my mind, I write it down. But yeah, just squeezing it in here and there when you can, if you do work full-time at another job, or committing yourself to like 1 hour a day or 3 days a week or a block of time on the weekend, whenever you can get it in. I think it'd be my best way to kind of suggest to have that balance, to feed your creative soul, your spirit, your desire, your passion, whatever it is. And Cassie says 4:30. Yep. So you kind of make concessions, you know, maybe you get up extra early, maybe you don't watch as much TV.
When most people say they don't have time to write, I say, how much TV do you watch in a day? Yeah. Because 1 hour is only 4% of your day. So I'm pretty sure you can find 1 hour to write. And this is different. If you have a bunch of little children at home or something, maybe you don't have time. I don't know. But if it means a lot to you, you will find a way to make it work. I personally ignore my entire family all day, and that works out well. My daughter commented on my Instagram post saying, "Hey, can you bring me lunch to school?" And I said no. Like, I'm busy. I'm not doing that. I'm kidding. My family gets my time. I'm just saying, like, don't watch TV, and there you go. You've got some writing time for the average person, I would say.
And Ellie says, how much time on social media? Yeah, so there, you know, any of those distractions that kind of eat up good, valuable time, I think are really ways that you can kind of shift into making the time to write, or any of the number of hats that we wear. And Cassie wrote, learn to type fast. So that's another skill.
I thank AOL Instant Messenger for teaching me how to write fast when I was a teenager. 129 words a minute right here.
Wow.
But, and if one, do what?
I don't know how fast I type.
Go to one of those typing websites and figure it out.
Okay.
That's a hint for being a substitute teacher, is say, hey guys, how fast can y'all type? Because I bet I could type faster. And I'll project it on the little smart board, and I show them how fast I type, and I think it's so cool. But anyway, social media. I was going to say another thing, another hint for trying to manage your life, because to be an author these days, you really need to be active on social media. And one of my tricks is that I do my social media during wasted time, is what I call it. When I'm sitting at my kid's orthodontist office, when I'm just stuck in line at the grocery store, anytime I'm somewhere where I'm wasting a few minutes of time, I will get on social media and I will try to keep up with that. That way I'm not doing social media when I'm at home in my office and I should be working. Yeah. And if you think about it, which you probably already do it anyway because we're so drawn to our phones when we're bored, you can use that time to do promotion or marketing or whatever as an author. So that's a really a good trick that I use, is wasted time.
Yeah.
Because then it's not wasted.
Patricia said writing also helps her. So yeah, this kind of illustrates like the great part about this community, about the writing community, is we all have these great ideas that we can share. So I love it. Thanks guys for chiming in.
I love it. And y'all should check us out on Facebook. We have a brand new group, so it's not very active. But go to Facebook and search Writers Uncut, and we have a group where we want to continue the conversation. We can talk about anything, and our main motto is that it's uncut and unedited and unsugar-coated. So we want to talk all about writing and publishing, you know, candidly. And unsugar-coated is such a stupid word, but y'all know what I mean. Like, we're not going to sugarcoat it, and we want to, you know, be able to hang out with other writers, because sometimes a lot of stuff online is also rainbows and happiness, and I'm like, that's not how it is at all. Like, it can be brutal. but we still do it because we've got this calling inside of us to write because something's wrong in our head, I guess. I don't know. So we want to be there for you. We want to hang out, chat, answer your questions. So definitely find us on Facebook because our group is kind of dead right now because it's so new. So help us feel better and join.
Come hang out with us.
Yes.
All right, so we'll be back next week for more questions. If you have any that we can get to, leave them in the comments or our DMs, and we will see you on Wednesday.
Next Wednesday at 11 a.m. for most of Texas, but not for Trisha. She told me that Texas is actually 2 different time zones. I didn't know that. So, yeah, I was like, God, we're such a huge state. I have no idea. Anyway, 12 Eastern, 11 Houston, Texas time. And it's what, 9 a.m. for you in California?
Yeah.
Yeah.
9 a.m. Yeah. Right,
Alrighty, well, we will see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.
Bye.